Hi, I'm Kim.
I'm Brad.
We're 626 Ohana, California, and today we're going to be talking about planning summer vacations under the new guidelines that have been released.
Yeah, so we're only going by what we've been told by Disney and what we can research out. So things can change. This is up to the minute as of now.
So please don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow along with our Ohana.
And always, we'll give you any tips and tricks we find along the way.
All right, so real quick, we're a different location. We were supposed to be on a Disney cruise. Instead, we came to visit family in Arizona. So that's the background.
We had to do an alternative.
Yeah.
That's right.
The thing with this summer and probably this year is flexibility. So your patience, flexibility are going to be key to everything.
Yes, it is. So let's start with hotels.
Okay, because that's usually the first thing I plan when we're going. So the first thing is from June 22nd till at least July 4th. It's right now only the deluxe resorts are open.
And so then with that, you're going to be losing all the all-star resorts, the value resorts.
The value and the moderate at the moment.
At the moment. And they're rebooking them over to...
They're Old Key West and the cabins at the Fort Wilderness. And if you were staying at Jumbo House, they're just switching you over to Kidani Village.
Okay.
So the other thing with that is they're also going to cancel all the club room level rooms.
And that's understandable because they do put out buffets and food for everybody to eat, and they can't give you the same level of service that you expect for that price.
Right. But I did hear of a story of somebody being at Animal Kingdom Lodge and a studio with the club, and they upgraded them to a one-bedroom Savannah view. Oh. So,
well, something to be aware of. Yeah.
Okay, so the other thing is at the beach club, Stormalong Bay is going to be closed, which is a bummer because about a week before they canceled it, our wait list came through for beach club.
And we were really excited to try the
Stormalong Bay
because we never got a chance to do it while we were there because it was so cold.
Yeah, wah.
So it's something to be aware of at any of the resorts you're going to, that pools may be closed or limited in what you can do.
Okay, so one of the things you're not going to be allowed to do is resort hopping or pool hopping for the DVC members, which is kind of a bummer because that's one of those things that we would have normally done a little bit of.
Yeah, so basically they're only allowing you to go there if you have room reservations at that resort.
Or dining.
Or dining reservations. So that's something to be aware of, and it's unfortunately going to take a big chunk out of your vacation if you're not going to be able to get into the parks.
Right. So, and to keep in mind that the pool capacity is going to be lessened to allow for social distancing, but they're not going to force you to wear masks in the pool.
Well, yeah, that'd be kind of hard.
That makes sense.
Yeah, it'd be kind of hard.
So that's just kind of one of those things to be aware of. Also, the other thing that's not going to be open at the resorts is the spas, which is...
Well, kind of obvious.
Yeah.
You're just not going to have the services available as that you're used to in the past.
And the fitness centers are going to be open just limited hours. So that's just something to keep in mind. The other thing is there's going to be no room service. So if you can't get dining reservations, you can't be like, we'll just go back to the room and order a room service at this time. It's not going to be available.
So it's one of those things that dining's going to become an issue. We'll talk a little bit more about it here in a little bit.
Yeah.
But it's something to be very aware of.
So the other thing is, for us, we usually do a garden grocer, and we end up getting a bunch of breakfast stuff and snacks and whatnot and bring to our room. Unfortunately, Disney's not allowing any kind of deliveries, either groceries, Amazon, or even medications from a pharmacy. So that's really important to keep in mind.
Yeah, so we actually tried to call a couple of the delivery services. We couldn't even get through to them, so we couldn't confirm with them, but what Disney's saying is no.
And I called Disney, so Disney said no. I tried to call and email some of the delivery services and got no response. So to me, that is saying that you're not going to get any groceries this summer.
So if you need groceries, if you're DVC and need to get things, you're going to either have to take your own car or probably get an Uber and go down to the grocery store and back on your own.
Yeah. So just know that that's something, if you're planning, replan. Okay. That's something, just our tip. But the one thing that will be allowed in is the owner's locker and the magic strollers. We called the company because we own owner's locker, and they confirmed that yes, they will be able to deliver. They're working out the details with Disney. They're gonna wear masks at all time, a little purple mask to go with their lockers. And they're gonna have to disinfect the owner's lockers when you get to the resorts.
And I imagine that's the same with the strollers or whatever
Right.
you're renting from them. He was actually really proud of how well they're going
Yeah.
to be doing this. So
Yeah,
it's really
so-
encouraging news to hear.
Yeah, that was something good because
only-
I was fearful.
Only thing they weren't sure of is going to be locations, how they're going to deliver. They're still working
Right.
out those details with Disney at the moment.
Yeah, exactly. You're not going to be able to do in-room celebrations at this point in time. It makes sense. It's kind of a bummer, but
They're trying to
just
keep
know
people
it.
out, the extra people out of your room
Yeah.
that could cause an issue with the virus. So
Right.
that's
So if-
obvious.
If you're planning anniversary, birthday, such, make other plans.
Yeah.
Okay, so next important thing we always plan is for our dining. That is making a huge change. They're talking about changing from 180 days out to 60 days out for their new reservation system. They don't have a name for it yet. We were told that when Disney canceled everything, that those that had existing dining reservations would be a priority to rebook.
So we haven't even gotten ours yet. We're getting into that window that we're getting close to. So unfortunately, we're kind of playing it by ear. But a lot of the restaurants that we have booked are not even going to be open.
Right, at this point in time, so we'll get into that real quick. There's not going to be the dinner shows, so that's kind of a bummer because we love Hoopity-Doo. And then you're not going to have Ohana or any of the character meals. So even if the dining is open, they're not going to have characters.
So really, for the up-to-date openings of the restaurants and what's going to be open or not, really check the Walt Disney World app to see.
Right now, they're saying that signature dining is not, for the most part, not going to be available. They will have Topolino's Terrace minus the character breakfast. They're going to have Trattoria Al Forno, no character breakfast, and sauna. So if those would be the places you're looking at, unless you want to go to downtown Disney for your birthday, special occasions, date nights that you want it a little nicer, something like that.
Yeah. And with that being said, no dining plans at all.
Yeah.
And those have all been canceled and refunded. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, that's one thing we love when we go down there is the Disney dining plan.
We do. I was kind of bummed.
So we're really kind of scrambling at the moment.
We are, so that'll be interesting. One of the things that they're saying is that at the resorts, as far as like at the hotels, they're saying that I've heard, and it seems like from pretty reliable sources, that if you had a reservation at like Topolino's or at a resort that you're not staying at, they're going to give you priority to rebook, and that's all that's going to be allowed to rebook there. So if you were staying at the Poly and wanted to go to Topolino's Terrace and you didn't have a previous advanced dining reservation, then you wouldn't be able to make a new dining reservation.
So that's kind of a rumor. We're not sure yet,
Right.
but it's something to be aware of as well.
So they're also saying for dining that you have to have a reservation. They're not going to accept any walk-in. So all your dining has to be pre-planned.
And that makes sense, especially with them wanting to have reservations at the resort you're at or only allowing people in with reservations to those resorts to limit the amount of people there.
Yeah, so that's kind of
And then talk about limiting people to theme parks. We have to
Yeah.
talk about that. So having a resort reservation does not guarantee you admission into the parks.
And you cannot make a dining reservation in the theme parks until you have a guaranteed reservation into that resort. Or that theme park, sorry.
And unfortunately, Disney has not said how they're doing this yet. We're still kind of playing by ear. I would imagine it's going to be done through the Disney app.
Yeah.
And so, again, that Disney app is going to be your best friend through all this.
And once again, they said if you had prior fast passes on that day, you're supposed to have priority for the rebooking. We'll see how that works. I really hope that they stick to that.
And then the other thing that we're getting into with what we're talking about is going to be also your payments.
They're all going to be touchless of some sort. Like they'd want to use a Magic Band, something like Google Pay, Apple Pay, something like that.
So if you're buying anything in the parks, you're going to have to use your Magic Band or touchless payments thing. And with buying things in parks and talking about package deliveries,
They're not going to let you buy things in the parks and then send them back to your resorts or from other resorts and send them there. That inter-package system is not going to happen at the moment.
So you're going to be carrying around those packages around the park. So something to be very
Yeah.
aware of when you're doing that.
And that's a bummer because that's a perk we use a lot.
We love that. That would make it so much easier just to buy it and send it back to your room and not have to worry about it.
And then also with Disney merchandise, they're not going to release new things like pins or like last year they had the Haunted Mansion 50th anniversary day celebration when we were back there. Those kind of things are only going to be available on Shop Disney, not in the parks.
And again, it's trying to limit the amount of people that can actually get into the park. We know there's going to be limited numbers.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things that happen.
I guess I'm kind of happy and sad because I love being there on pin release days. But I guess now if you're not in the parks and you want to get those limited release pins at home, that's good news. So take it as you will.
And talking about pin trading.
One of my favorite things to do in parks. I love it. I take pins from Disneyland, take them to Disney World all the time. I won't be this summer.
Yeah, what they're going to be doing with it is just putting up a board that you grab the pin off of and then you put your own pin back on. Mm-hmm. Again, if you really want to pin trade, you probably can, but make sure you have plenty of hand sanitizer and be able to clean off those pins.
Right. So you're not going to go up to the cast member with their lanyards like you're used to. So that's a change. It makes sense. I understand it. It doesn't allow for social distancing. But I wonder if it'll be the same thing with boards.
Yeah, so it'll probably be a lot more limited than what it was in the past.
So I hope that's just temporary until we get past all this.
Yes.
Because it's also kind of fun to talk with the cast members. Okay, so one of the things they're not going to have is the nighttime shows. The fireworks shows, you know, the Happily Ever After, Phantasmic, Rivers of Light, those kind of shows. And the electrical water pageant will not be there. So those are just kind of fun things that we always enjoy. We just have to plan differently, which is good and bad because, you know, maybe we won't spend as much time waiting in line to get into Phantasmic or do the dining with the Phantasmic plan at Hollywood Studios. So just another thing that's just different. The key to the summer is flexibility.
Yeah. And another thing you're going to have to be flexible with is also obviously transportation of all kinds. So we're talking the Magical Express. When you get to the airport, they're going to be limiting the amount of people on buses. Again, they hopefully you won't have to wait as long. That they're more aware of who's coming into the parks for what resorts and have buses standing by.
So they'll probably take the buses from the values and the moderate resorts and use those to accommodate the increased popularity at the deluxe.
Yeah, so I'm sure they're going to have plenty of there. It's just something that patience is going to be a big key here.
Right.
And you got to remember that buses are actually ran by a different company that Disney contracts out to.
Correct. And then once you get into the parks, the buses, the monorail, and the boats are all going to be practicing social distancing and have probably half to less than half capacity.
Yeah, so they're going to really have to have our numbers and everybody spaced out. Again, this is pure precaution and it's something to be aware of this summer. It's just going to be that year that it's going to be really difficult for Disney vacations.
Right, just a change. And it's, you know, Disney's doing the best they can. That's the thing to keep in mind. It's rough. It's not going to be as what you're used to, but I think the fact that it's open and we're going to be able to possibly go is a good thing. I think one of the best things, in some ways, part of our resort, we're staying at the Beach Club, which is going to allow us to walk to Epcot and over to Hollywood Studios. It'll be interesting because there's been no talk about the Skyliner being open.
Yeah, so that's kind of interesting because that would be an easy way to socially distance. But I think the only issue they may have is trying to keep them clean in between guests and everything might be an issue.
So the Skyliners are possibly, it seems like, are not going to be open. So one of the things is Brad and I have pretty much said if we go to Epcot or over to Hollywood Studios from there, we're going to be walking or taking the open air boats. We're going to try to avoid the buses. I think resorts that are there are going to be wildly popular just because you can walk.
Some of the parks are really easy to walk to. The only park you cannot walk to at all is Animal Kingdom.
Right. So I think those walking resorts are going to be really popular because there's going to be a longer wait for transportation. Plus, studies support that this doesn't spread as well outside. And so walking would be the best, healthiest thing to do.
And then the other thing is to be aware of is the opening dates of the parks.
Yes.
July 11th, Disney has set for Animal Kingdom and Magic Kingdom. Now, these times can change based on what's going on.
There is talks about season pass holder previews before.
Yeah, and unfortunately, they have not released that. This is just as filming, as current that we have. And then July 15th, correct?
15th for Epcot and Hollywood Studios.
Yeah. keep on calling it MGM for some reason. I don't know why.
I know, it's just ingrained. But the one thing with World Showcase is they're not going to have the international representatives, which is kind of a bummer because they're really cool to talk to.
That really does make sense, unfortunately, because that's part of their international program for college programs and everything else.
Right, and restrictions to get back into the U.S. at this point. All right, so real quick, one last tip for dining reservations is I would recommend making a reservation for downtown Disney, taking into consideration that right now there's limited reservations. There'll be no walk-ups. You can always change and modify to go to whatever opens up and you want to, but at least you have something to fall back on. It's like a plan B.
Yeah, and it's going to be tough. Dining is going to be a really tough issue while we're there. So with all these difficulties and things that are going on, are we still planning on going? Right now?
Yes, but that is a huge maybe.
So we're planning as we are going. We're trying to plan around all the restrictions and everything else they have.
Yeah.
And we're kind of playing it by ear. We're fortunate being DVC members that we are still able to bank our points and far enough ahead to next year if we need to.
Right.
We can, but if you're not in that situation, it may be you either have to kind of go with the flow of what's going on, or try to book them into RCI if you can.
Or you could rent out. Some people, there's a huge market where people want to go and there's just not enough points. You could try to rent them.
But it is going to be a tough year for Disney Vacation. It's not going to be the same. We're still trying to find our magic, as we say, at the parks. But right now we're trying to figure out if it's worth us to make a trip from the West Coast to the East Coast for a trip, or just save it till next year and do an ultimate trip next year. Right.
So we have several weeks ahead of us where we have time to kind of figure that out before it's that 31-day window where we'd have to lose our points or have severe consequences.
So we hope this helps you find out and try to make some of your decisions on your own. Again, it's like we said, use the app. We go to the website and see the most up-to-date information.
Yeah. And we'll try to keep you guys updated too as we hear the changes when there's big announcements like there's been.
So with that, I think it's time for us to say goodbye and
find your magic.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.